Welcome back to the channel, muscle car enthusiasts and collectors. Today we are diving deep into an online listing that seems too good to be true, a vehicle that embodies the absolute peak of the golden era of American performance. We are looking at what appears to be a stunning 1966 Pontiac GTO convertible, a car that practically defined the segment, currently sitting on eBay and drawing significant attention from the community. At first glance, and even at a closer second glance, this machine checks every single box for the serious buyer looking for that elusive survivor aesthetic.
It is presented not just as a classic ride, but as a highly documented piece of history, complete with the holy grail of Pontiac validation, Pontiac Historic Services, or PHS paperwork. The 1966 model year was pivotal for the GTO, finally established as a standalone model rather than just an option package, and selling over 96,000 units, cementing its legacy as the GOAT. Finding a convertible from this specific year, especially one that hasn't been massaged into an unrecognizable modern restomod, is a notable event in the marketplace.
The example in question is currently located in Nottingham, Maryland, and it wears its 50-plus years with a rugged dignity that is incredibly appealing in today's market. The seller describes the paint as mostly original, showing the inevitable signs of age, like cracking, fading, and blemishes that tell a story of decades on the road. It is that honest, unrestored look that many prefer over a six-figure flawless rotisserie restoration that you are afraid to drive. The frame is reported to be solid, and while the trunk pan and braces show some typical corrosion, the main floor plans remain structurally sound. It sits right, looks right, and carries the gravitas of a true survivor. Under the dual-snorkel hood, the story gets even more compelling for the performance-minded buyer. We find the legendary 389 cubic inch V8 engine, the beating heart of the GTO legend. While not numbers matching to this specific chassis, it is a period-correct YY-coated block sourced from a 1966 full-size Pontiac, originally rated at a respectable 325 horsepower from the factory.
It is currently breathed on by an aftermarket Holley carburetor and an Edelbrock intake manifold for a bit of extra punch and reliability. But crucially for the purists, the sale includes the original Carter 4-barrel carb and the stock intake for those obsessed with factory correctness. Backing up that formidable power plant is a legendary Muncie M20 4-speed manual transmission, sending power to a sturdy 10-bolt rear end. This is the drivetrain setup everyone wants, the quintessential muscle car experience of rowing your own gears behind a torquey American V8. The interior also presents beautifully, featuring vibrant red bucket seats and a center console that looks right at home, complemented by desirable convenience features like power steering, power brakes, and a fully functioning power convertible top. It sounds absolutely perfect, doesn't it? A documented survivor-style 1966 GTO convertible with a 389 and a 4-speed stick. The bidding is currently sitting over $30,000, and the reserve hasn't even been met yet, indicating high expectations. But hold your horses, because there is a massive, glaring detail hidden in that mountain of documentation that changes absolutely everything about this car's identity and value. This is where the detective work comes in, and why you must always inspect the VIN tag personally, or have an expert do it. Despite the GTO badges on the grille and quarters, the hood scoop, the big V8, and the beautiful presentation, this is not a factory-born Pontiac GTO. The vehicle identification number on this convertible begins with the sequence 23567. For the 1966 model year, if it were a genuine factory GTO, that VIN would absolutely need to start with 24267. What we have here is a standard Pontiac Le Mans convertible that has been painstakingly and admittedly very convincingly transformed into a GTO tribute. The PHS documentation, which the seller proudly advertises, actually confirms this deception if you know how to read the codes accurately. Those papers show it left the factory as a humble Le Mans painted in code G gold and fitted with a pedestrian column-shifted 3-speed automatic transmission. The striking red interior, the Muncie 4-speed floor shift, the center console, and the entire GTO persona were all added later in its life by previous owners wanting the look and feel of the real thing.
This revelation brings up the age-old debate in the classic car world regarding the value of a well-executed clone versus the real deal. On one hand, it walks, talks, and looks exactly like a GTO. You get the same visceral driving experience, the same head-turning looks at the local cruise-in, and the same wind-in-your-hair thrill of a big block convertible, likely for significantly less money than a verifiable numbers-matching 24267 GTO would command. It is a high-quality build that respects the source material and provides the full experience. Yet for the investor and the purist, that little VIN tag is the difference between a blue-chip appreciated asset and just a fun weekend cruiser. It is a stark reminder that highly documented doesn't always mean highly authentic to the badging on the fenders. It is a beautiful Le Mans dressed in the finest GTO attire, a tribute that honors the legend. But it is crucial for any potential bidder to understand exactly what they are buying before raising that paddle.